order the Torrington Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, January 21st. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kapabianka? Here. Mr. Hinman?
Here.
Mrs. Hona here. Mr. Kisco?
Here.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Nargi?
Here.
Mr. Lemoyne?
Here.
Ms. Richardson? Here. Mr. Tebow? Not here. Mr. Traub?
Here.
Mayor Carbone? Here. Ms. Ayer? Not here. Mr. Bassetta? Mr. Campolita?
Here.
Ms. Klocko? Here. Ms. Slabomsky? Here. Mr. Potter?
Here.
Student Representative Emmeline Barara? Here. Thank you.
Thank you. School community session. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make a comment are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, which is located on the front table, including your name and address, which must also be stated at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. Participating time will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 10 minutes overall. We have a very short list tonight. Okay. Approval of the agenda. We need to make an amendment to the agenda. We need to remove number 5. And we will need to remove numbers. Where'd it go? 8 and 5. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Second. Ellen. Discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Informational sharing session. Student report. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, welcome.
So, the students in the clothing and SOTEC at THS have been making modified pillowcase dress, which will be donated to the Little Dresses for Africa. Also in the semester, they have made mittens, scarves, and ties that were donated to FISH. On December 11th, the Charlotte Hungerford Hospital Pink Rose Fund Outreach accepted a check for $500 from the Interact Club. The club sold pink breast cancer awareness ribbons to donate to the Pink Rose Fund, which provides educational outreach and breast cancer screening to women in Northwest Connecticut who do not otherwise have the financial resources to do so. Math teacher Sybil Chamberlain also presented a check to the Pink Rose Fund on behalf of the THS teachers. The freshman class at THS went to Valerie Manor in December to put on a Christmas show for the residents. This was part of their annual service project. Torrington High School was received a 2014 Exxon Mobil Education Alliance grant for science and math. In addition, THS math teacher Amanda Short coordinated donations to purchase a set of graphing calculators for her classes. $650 of the total donations came from Torrington Savings Bank. The National Honor Society at THS hosted cocoa and cram sessions in the library prior to midterms. These are free sessions provided by the NHS members to their peers in all classes. Midterm exams begin tomorrow at THS. NHS is also in the middle of selling t-shirts for the basketball pink-out game, all to raise money for breast cancer awareness. Students at THS are being matched up with over 40 local businesses for an all-day job shadowing experience on February 2nd. Students were able to choose their field of interest and will represent THS while learning the ins and outs of their chosen career. THS Literature in the Action Club will be hosting a circus performance at Torrington Middle School next Wednesday. The company performing is Yankee Doodle Circus, a local organization that gears performances for elementary age students. Tickets can be purchased for one of the 2 shows at getcircustickets.com. The Unified Bowling Team competed in their state tournament on Saturday at Skytop Lanes. Students at THS will again be taking Northwestern Community College classes at THS, 1 day a week after school. The courses this spring are crisis negotiations and success in science and health. The counseling department at THS is offering a financial aid tutorial and AP/UConn course informational meeting on Wednesday, January 28th at 6 p.m. The JROTC Change of Command ceremony will take place at THS on Thursday, January 29th. The return of the Torrington High School school newspaper was covered by the Republican American early this month. The paper, Raider Times, has printed 4 issues so far this year with 5 more to go. Tomorrow, the THS students will be attending a Model UN weekend at Yale. THS has repeatedly won awards at this annual event. And finally, the Torrington High School Marching Band recently held a youth clothing drive. They are now selling mattresses to raise money towards their trip to DC later this year. That's all.
Thank you.
Is there any questions or anything?
Emerine, is there any way that the board could get a copy of the Raider Times?
Yeah. You can ask Ms. Sullivan about that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions for her? Thank you very much.
All right. Is it okay if I excuse myself?
Yes, it is,
Sorry.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Sam,
Yes. Superintendent's report.
All right, tonight we're going to begin with new course offerings at THS for the 2015 school year. And as you can see, there are 5 specific courses being offered. And I'm going to have Assistant Superintendent Susan Bomsky address it, and also the teachers who have put together these courses for our students.
As you look through the board packet and you look at each syllabus, you can see the hard work and the dedication that these teachers have for the craft and to our students. So we really, really want to applaud all their efforts, all their hard work, and also that they came here this evening to answer any questions that you might have. I've asked the teachers if they would come up to the center table, and those teachers are Matt Grenfell, David Rowland, James Wright, Thomas Pepe, and Mary DeMarchi. Andrew Marchand couldn't be here this evening. However, Mary worked on the syllabus with him, so I'm sure that he can speak to any questions you might have. So you may want to just start by introducing yourself and how your course, or in its new proposal form, would service our students, what grade level, and what particular focus. Do you want to start?
Hello, Thomas Pepe, and I'm proposing AP Environmental Science. This would be for next year for junior and senior students, and in the future would also be offered in course for sophomores that are taking biology or have maybe taken biology as freshmen. This course basically is a survey course that approaches all the non-living and living factors from the soil to the air to the water up to effects on animals, human populations, and in turn how that affects these systems. All of our lab work, which is heavy with this course, would be done in the Litchfield area and Torrington area specifically. What's exciting about this is the Project Paraphyton, which has been approved, provides funding for 3 field trips, 1 to Milford Point, where they're actually doing like graduate college level research and submitting data to both state agencies, fisheries, Connecticut Deep, and also federal. This is funded by NOAA, and this is directly integrated into the coursework of this AP Environmental Science course.
I'm Matt Grenfell. I teach math at Torrington High School. This is a computer science course. and it will be an AP level. It would have to be for 11, 12. There really is a background needed in Algebra 2 to be able to succeed with the curriculum that the AP requires. Just to explain, some people don't know what computer science is. It's basically generally a study of how computers work and how we can make them do tasks. Specifically, in this case, computer science will be, and this is driven by the AP curriculum. Again, they focus on a programming language called Java, which is very flexible. And you know, even if that changes in the future, whatever the students can gain from that will help them. I can tell from personal experience that I actually do work over the summer, and I do have a second job on the weekends, and I program in a language called Apex. For the last 3 or 4 years, I've been helping students do independent studies in this subject, and I've actually gained from it. I'm a much more efficient programmer because Java and the logic that's required for it will filter out to other areas of computer science as well. So it's a great starting point for students. And the logic that goes behind it, it's really a math thing. This is not learning how to type Excel spreadsheets or format using Word. This is really like, you know, programming and the logic behind it to make computers do things for people. And I know in my career we're basically, I mean, and obviously I obviously do it for money as well, but we are, with the contracts that I do, making things easier for people, very much like Power School makes things easy for us as teachers. We'll do things such as for, like the latest project I've been doing was for Vermont organic farmers. And you know, this doesn't seem to have any computer connection, but it turns out the certification process is much faster if it can be on a tablet. So we're developing communications between that. Using Apex, which is very, very close to a Java language. Everything that's in this course is very similar to the kind of techniques that I have to do for that work, and I know it will help the students. And it's also, I mean, I know this will come up later on, it's a relatively cheap course. The only thing I really see as an issue is staffing. We can use a computer lab that exists. Strangely enough, the AP exam itself does not even use computers. I was surprised by that when I found that out. They sit down and they write the code out by hand, and they have to have it right. They have to get it. I couldn't do that, to be honest with you. When I'm doing my work, I have to hit send and see if it works and then try to debug. But for the AP curriculum, they have to do it on white line paper and get it correct that way. So I don't know if that's budget reasons for the College Board or just because limitations of the test. But the preparation for it, we'll need a computer lab. That's pretty much it.
Okay, I'm Jim Wright, and I am proposing the AP U.S. Government and Politics course. That's basically a college-level introductory political science course. And it will extend the civics class that the sophomores would have taken. This would be primarily for seniors. It's a one-semester college-level AP course. It studies the Constitution, political beliefs, behaviors, political parties, interest groups, the media, institutions of the national government, public policy, civil rights, and civil liberties.
I'm Mary DeMarchi. I'm an English teacher. There currently exists a cooperative work education program taught by Mr. Marchand, and that is to take these students who are not necessarily geared for college and help them find jobs and be prepared for job searches. What we're proposing is to add a business English part to that to help the more general level students work through an English curriculum that suits their needs. We're trying to service the population's needs that we don't believe are really serviced in this environment that we have here. It's related, it goes through the Common Core. We'll still have the research portion, we'll have the reading, writing, but we're going to tailor it to the needs of the students, like resume writing, presentation skills, public relations, listening skills, manuals, working with policy manuals, and business cases as well. My background plus Mr. Marchand's background in business will add to that, as well as my expertise in English. As it is now, when they do resumes, he gives them to me to look at and correct and try to punch up. So I think it's really going to suit a desperately deficient part of our curriculum, and that we can service the needs of those students who tend to slip through the cracks.
And I'm Jamie Rowland, and I'm proposing the AP Psychology. I currently teach the psychology course. As it exists for the last 4 or 5 years now, it is a semester-long survey course that allows us to really sample all of these many different areas that are involved in the discipline of psychology. The AP Psychology would allow us, for those students who want to take on the challenge, to go deeper. We would have more time expanding the format to get into more experimentation and hands-on and things of that nature. Continuing some of the things that we already do. The students already conduct and create their own hypothesis and create their own psychological study or experiment, but they obviously could do that in greater depth and over greater time. This is a course also that I think would be particularly useful for students at the college level, because many different majors in college require psychology. So here they would be able to get not only numeric college credit that could be applied as elective or whatnot, but they could actually maybe even tick a box and fulfill a graduation requirement in a number of different fields. Criminal justice requires a psychology course. Education requires a basic psychology course, among others. So, you know, not only, again, would they be able to get into that critical thinking and depth of analysis that we like to do, but fulfill a future college need. So that's the rationale.
I think we have 2 students who want to speak. We have 1. Oh, we have 1 student.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Ella just wanted to speak.
Hi, it was me and another student, but she just had to leave. We're supposed to be speaking on behalf of AP Environmental Science. Sorry, if I can get my words straight here. Well, we're both juniors. It was me and Julia Traub, and okay, talking in front of people.
You have those same thoughts.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job before, you'll do a great job.
Show your stuff. Thank you. Okay, well, to speak for Julia's thing, which I will summarize briefly, she is actually interested in environmental science as a career. And a lot of others. Anyway, she is interested in that career, and I know a few other students that would be interested in going into that as a profession or a major. So it would actually serve the needs of that group. In addition, environmental science is a growing field right now, because obviously we have many regulations, legislations, et cetera, dealing with the use of resources and land. It's especially important for communities like Torrington that have a lot of brownfield sites. This kind of study of the relationships of humans and the environment, it's newer, but it has a growing role in our society. So it's a useful course for high school students that are either interested in it as a career or just have a general interest in the workings of this system. That's all I have to say, so I'm going to retreat now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I just want to extend my thanks. The board has questions, but thank you for, first of all, really looking at our students and the needs, and be challenged and support, be college and career ready. Also, we've been working hard behind the scenes to develop really a STEM program, K through 12, and by adding the courses that you're adding this year, all of them would fit perfectly into our goal that way. So thank you. I'm excited. I'd come back to high school just for the courses. Of course, I couldn't. I would love to get in them.
How many of these AP classes would be eligible for ECE credit?
I believe the AP U.S. government would be. That's a UConn course. I did approval from UConn, but I believe that wouldn't be involved.
AP Psychology, to my knowledge, is strictly through the College Board as an AP. UConn does not have it.
the environmental science, AP environmental science is eligible. We're discussing it, and, at this point, we'd continue further as soon as, tomorrow to, further put that in writing.
I'd have to look into it, to be honest with you. I don't remember seeing computer science on the list of ECE courses, but
Okay. The reason I'd asked that question is when we were putting the agenda together, I asked that question. And they can't apply for ECE status until it's an existing course. So there are 3 that we know are eligible at the time we were putting the agenda together. Once it's approved, they would be able to go through the format. And if I remember correctly, the syllabuses and course outline were essentially designed in close relation with what the ECE requirements would be, or? You believe so?
Somewhat similar. I know UConn wants a syllabus. They don't want an AP syllabus, but it's somewhat similar to.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? You know what teacher does?
I just want to thank you all for being outside the box in your crazy day and working to try to fill the needs of the students. I really appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Mr. Knight.
The business English class that's being proposed, is that a curriculum that could also be adapted to be used by students with disabilities in a transition from school to work program?
Probably. It would require some of the same skill levels, so yes, I'm sure it could be.
And this is.
Thank you.
And this is something that our manufacturers and businesses have been asking us to do with all students, but, especially those who will be going into beginning a potential career in the work field upon graduation. That's one thing that they said, can they write, can they, read a manual? And
In my prior life, I was a business person, so I noticed there was a great need of people who could read and write well. And that's probably why I became an English teacher, because that's a need that needs to be fulfilled.
Jess?
First of all, I think all the ideas that you guys have presented are wonderful, and I would love, in theory, to see them all happen. But I had a couple questions. One is just, not all of the proposals offered financial information about what the expected cost of the course would be. So those of you that didn't include that, do you have any more information about the price?
If I can just quickly, the AP Environmental Science, through this grant through NOAA, provides field trip funding and all the equipment needed for this entire course, along with equipment that I've acquired and have presently, is all there. And we do have environmental science textbooks. As we would like better environmental science textbooks, that would be the only thing is, like 25 textbooks. If that wasn't in the budget, we can more than get around those classroom textbooks. So at this point, the environmental science could get by with zero funding pretty much. Just the buses, which I think would go through that grant anyways.
For the AP Psychology, the book really would be the primary, and I did indicate that in the syllabus or in the course proposal. I wouldn't anticipate a staffing change because I already teach the psychology, so it would just be a question of, mixing it around within my schedule. So I think the book would be the only expenditure, and I would only need the one class set. I wouldn't anticipate needing more than that.
For the business English, it would just be, again, rearranging my schedule to be able to work with Mr. Marchand and create that class. The book is less than $15, so it's really, it's not much, considering the need it's going to fill.
The government class would require a textbook, a college public textbook.
Is that about the same cost as the psychology textbook, do you know?
I believe I put one in my department budget for one set. They're expensive. Yes.
Just to have an idea.
I think they're about $150.
Yeah. I think that it depends on where we get them
Yeah.
from too. I mean, I tried to go with the higher cost that I saw, just to give you an outside figure, but we may be able to find them for less.
Computer science, I've actually been doing the independent studies. I found a lot of free online sources. So there's actually something I've discovered recently. It's called Amplify MOOC. It's more than just a textbook. It actually has videos. It has interactive exercises where instant feedback, and it's completely free. The only cost would be if I decided to have a system that I could monitor the students. It might be an $85 fee per student. However, that's not really required. If I'm standing right behind them, I can just watch what they're doing. So right as it stands right now, I'm perfectly happy with the free version. And there are also online textbooks that are free as well.
And I'm sorry, in addition to the environmental science, this course would be supplementing an elective, I believe, one of the plant sciences, so staffing wouldn't be affected.
Now, with the computer class, I know you said that you wouldn't need computers all the time, right? But sometimes.
Correct. Well, it's 20 hours required of lab time. I would prefer more, obviously. And there's a computer lab down the hall that I have my classes go to often anyway. So I think that would be sufficient.
Do we have enough computers to be able to accommodate that class and any other students that might need computers at that time?
My gut instinct is yes, only because I utilize that computer lab already frequently. I mean, best case scenario would be to have computers in the classroom itself, but that is not required, and I don't foresee that. So I think it's, what we have right now, A3rd, we have our own computer lab on A3rd, so it doesn't get used as much as some of the other labs, so I rarely have trouble booking it, to be honest with you.
I was just wondering, because I know we don't have as many computers as we would like to.
Oh, granted, I would like to see more, but.
And then just a question, just generally speaking for these courses, is what would be the minimum enrollment of students that we would have to have before we could have the course?
For business English, there's already a population. There's already a Quito course, so it would just be those students. And then just move to the business English. It could be co-taught, it could be consecutive, it depends on how many students, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know about a minimum.
That's
Probably
really-
depends on.
That's really administration's decision.
Plus, I was just wondering if you have, and they all sound wonderful, but if you have 2 kids sign up for it, do you want for 2 kids, do you want for 3, 4? I mean, I just wasn't sure how that worked.
What we've been doing this year with the options classes that we've started, we've shot for 10. If we got, 8, 10, just to get it out the first time, somebody taking a risk to take a new class, the challenge of AP classes in their schedule. But these are just absolute phenomenal classes that they're offering, and I just want to also piggyback with the computer piece. We do have the technology grant that we're going to share tonight, and part of it is to have 2 carts on each floor for next year in the high school.
That's good to know.
We're trying.
No, that's great. I was just wondering, because I know it would have ended up affecting the staffing levels if you had a class that you ran for only a handful of kids. So that would be, that's why I wasn't sure about that.
But we already do that, so, we have specialty classes. We have to work.
Sure. Question for CWE. We have never done this before? CWE.
Over the Quito? I'm sorry, we call it Quito. Not since I've been here.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like a no-brainer.
So why am I here? No.
And my
The
next
Quito
question-
course does exist, it's just adding the business English to it.
Next is for Cheryl. The AP people recommend scheduling and workload accommodations for people who teach AP courses. We don't do that, do we? I don't think so. Okay.
We do it out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm thinking that imposes limitations on the teacher because these AP courses are incredibly demanding to offer, and the amount of student contact that's expected between teachers of AP and their students is a lot more than would normally be anticipated. And it would be better if we gave them some help, but we don't. So that's-
But John, I want this then to be an example of our teachers at Torrington High School who, I think, for their own passion and love of the work that they do and for the children that they, students that they know they have.
I understand. I've been in exactly that situation myself, teaching AP classes. Anyway, just ask if we did what we should.
Other than thank you, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, thank you.
Would a block schedule be more efficient and effective if you were able to teach these courses in a block schedule design?
I have not taught an AP course
Oh.
yet, so I'm going to defer to someone who has.
I'm teaching AP English right now, English Lit. I don't know. Honestly, I'm perfectly honest, I'm not sure how it would work. I'm open to, whatever happens.
The drawback I would find in a block is if I'm teaching a one-semester college course and we lose time for some particular reason, AP doesn't care ever if how many days you lose, how many snow days you lose in a year. Their exam is on a certain day, and you've lost those instructional days. That would be the problem with a block, where if you're having less meeting in a half year. In other words, if you're in an AB block and seems like every B day is getting a snow day, and I have B days, I'm losing 4 or 5 days. That's a lot of days to lose instructional in a half year.
But being that we're going into more intense comprehension of subject matter, is the block schedule more efficient for the type of more comprehensive, intensive course demand that these type of courses will now demand of the students and of the teachers?
I personally don't think, I think we can adjust whether it's a block or it's not a block. I think in specific, if you're asking me, do I need a block, I would say no.
But I think we teach a modified block anyway, so we're used to doing the block type of schedule.
Yeah,
So we
so-
can adjust no matter what.
I mean, ideally, specifically for a course like environmental science that we will be going out locally and on field trips, the more time together is obviously preferred. And this year's schedule versus a straight block schedule, both of them accommodate the amount of time that would be needed for the labs. Science always typically being the main benefit, the main course subject matter that benefits from block schedule. So yeah, this would definitely benefit from block, but it also fits quite nicely into the current schedule.
It's kind of what I was going to say. I teach ECE calculus and well, AP calculus as well. And the schedule we have now is a nice compromise between the two. I feel that there are many times I want the 90 minutes because it does feel like I'm getting cut off because it is a college course and the topics are big. But we get that on Wednesday, Thursday.
So you have kind of a blend or flex.
Exactly.
With where the schedule is already.
And I can plan I can plan the more difficult topics for those days. So, and I have that flexibility.
Thank you. John?
The exams are all still given in May, right? They never went to, okay, but that's not a problem for us because we run a year-long block, modified block schedule. But this just points out something we will be discussing later, the calendar. The more days we put in the calendar earlier in the year, the better off our AP kids are, especially in those years when we lose a lot of time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your effort. Okay. Based on an evolving event that has transpired since we began the meeting, I would like to take a motion to amend the agenda to add the executive session back in ahead of number 7, and then re-add agenda item 8I.
So moved.
Have a second? Jim, give it to Jim. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Don, are you in or? Okay, I didn't see you. Okay. Back to you. Sure.
In your packet, you saw this year's State of Connecticut Technology Grant, and it's very similar to last year's. The focus will continue to be improving our infrastructure and adding more equipment into our schools, so that, because this is something the state asks for, so that our assessments can be administered and run smoothly. The reason this comes before you is because I need the signature of the chair of the Board of Ed in order to send this in. We, developing this, it was done by not only the leadership team, headed up by Sue, but it was also done with our vendor, Mr. Luna. And I came in at the end after they fought off and added a few comments of myself. So again, it's to get carts at the high school, to get more carts at our elementary school, so that when administering assessment, it just makes, we could get it done sooner and out of the way. And also to increase the speed between buildings, or I should say between and among buildings. If you look on page 7, there's a real breakdown of the money we're asking for $1.1 million plus, and what it will go towards.
I'd like to add that at the policy meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, in reviewing the use of technology that currently is done in the schools, it has become apparent that the staff is in need of a way to offer more technology, and there has been instances where people have been asked to bring their own devices in, which is against our policy, which we discussed, and they're requesting that we loosen the restrictions in that policy so that they could allow kids to use personal devices. But it still brought up the fact that we do have a lot of students in Torrington in financial need that don't have their own devices. And in discussing in policy, Jeremy was there, John was there, that we feel the board should be providing these devices to the kids if we're requiring the kid to have a device in class. And the other issue we have is our computer system currently is set up to protect us from a virus from the outside. Our network is not set up to protect us from a virus from the inside. So if people start bringing their own devices in and someone happens to bring in an infected device, we would crash. And I have talked to Mr. Luna since that policy meeting, and he has said that he doesn't even have it in his, well, he's going to put it into his budget this year to kind of protect us from that, but it really has opened us up for a very large risk of our system going down. I mean, our staff has been very happy with the fact that they can get on Power School now, and it doesn't take 45 minutes to log in for attendance, and it doesn't, and that's all because of the way we've restricted outside use of our system. So this would allow us to get the technology to the kids that the staff needs, and to continue to keep our system protected from, you know, someone, not intentionally, but if someone comes in with a system with a virus, it's automatically in our system, because we have no firewalls from the inside. I know, I'm sorry. It was the way it had to be constructed with the money we had. So any discussion on this? Fantastic.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, it just took me a second to spit it out. On the section about the budget narrative and the sustainability, it says that Torrington Public Schools will continue instruction using the mobile laptops and carts on a daily basis. The district will plan and budget for replacement and maintenance of grant-provided devices annually. Do we have any idea how much money that refers to?
Not specifically, because most of our computers right now are maybe 2 years or less, and the laptops we're looking at have maybe 5 to 7, possibly a 10-year, meaning it won't be state-of-the-art. But if we can, once we get enough across the district, then we'll start an annual replacement. So I would say 2 to 3 more years to get maximum computers available to all students, K through 12. And then we would start looking at the first ones we bought last year and looking at, replacement and just to keep on top of things. We went with the laptop instead of a Chromebook because it really had more benefits for what we want to be able to do. And we also have a longer shelf life.
This is a competitive grant?
Pardon?
This is a competitive grant?
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, yes.
And if we were to apply for this grant and receive it, this would increase the effectiveness of the teaching that goes on district-wide?
Oh, absolutely. Because more and more teachers, and Sue can speak to this too, but because this year we actually held a professional development day where teachers taught other teachers and shared what they were doing with computers and smart boards in their classroom, and then how they too could try it and that they would support them once they initiated it. And there has, as you heard from the presenters tonight about the next classes, yes, our teachers are really rising to the occasion of how to use technology in the classroom. And it would be better if it's ours, because then it's hooked to our system, and we won't be contaminating.
Jim?
I just had a question. You said you chose laptops over Chromebooks. Did you look at tablets that are Microsoft compatible already instead of laptops, which are less expensive and more durable? There's less moving parts.
Okay, I wasn't on that committee, CPU, or any of.
Right, it was Richard Luna's suggestion that we do go with the laptops. They are more durable, they last longer. Also for testing, we have to have a screen of at least 11 inches, so it does restrict us to some measure. And for middle school and high school, we wanted something that really had more capability, so that if students were doing research, it really gave them that accessibility.
It's like having another dam. Yeah. That's not a bad thing. I was saying, you guys talk usually generally well above our knowledge level of the machines, and we just sort of glass over. But it's okay. We understand.
I just want to see the logic behind it, that's all.
It was, and Mr. Luna's thing was the screen size, the testing, and the durability. Those were his 3 things that he was picking. He said that the laptop has a slightly longer usable life than a tablet.
Okay.
Replaceable batteries and all that.